Welcome to the Little River Railroad in Coldwater, Michigan. It's one of the state's best kept secrets and an open gateway into our country's past. Since their childhood, the Little River Railroad has been a part of the Bloom brothers' lives, planting a seed for which they both share today, a passion for steam preservation. Alongside their father and Little River Railroad founder, Terry Bloom, they're what keeps this rolling piece of history moving. Come along and join us for a sneak preview behind the Little River Railroad.
Well, up until, through high school, it progressed. Everybody starts out at the bottom. You paint, and then you go and be a brakeman or a conductor, and then eventually you're up in the engine. And it got to the point where our membership and volunteer base started shrinking as many groups have experienced, to the point where my dad couldn't handle everything anymore. So I started taking on more of the administrative roles as far as financial side of it, the taxing side of it, advertising side of it, trying to help out as much as I can. It just kind of progressed from there to the point where now I'm really helping them out as much as I can, just keeping everything running. Well, seeing how it's made it 100 years, and I'd like to think that we're all a big part of that, it's very rewarding. But it's also, it's like working on one of your brothers or sisters. I mean, they're I know they're pieces of metal, but they're part of the family, and to keep them running and to take care of them is really rewarding when it comes down to it. And to see the look on young and old, come and see them, young kids, instantly Thomas, the tank engine, or any other things, then they get to experience it firsthand, go up in it and be around it, and then the older generation that remember them is very nostalgic for them, and it's fun to share what we've been doing with them and see the looks on their faces, introduce a whole new generation to it again, and keep it going.
Growing up with we called it the train, the Little River Railroad. I remember very, very young memories of sitting up on my dad's lap in the engineer's seat and blowing the whistle and helping throw coal in and all that. There was a period when we were growing up where wasn't too involved in it, but always was drawn to trains, and probably got that from my dad. And then as we got older, we'd help push the ashes down in the morning and wash the engine down, and most of the time we'd ride on the tender and pick through the coal and get totally filthy by the end of the day. And that's some of the really early memories I have of it. And I was back in Pleasant Lake, and a lot of real good memories playing on the train. whole operating a steam engine now, as opposed to, let's say back when it was built, there was nothing tremendously special about it. Everybody, railroads were all over the place, and a good percentage of the country worked for the railroads. Now, running a steam engine, I remember in high school saying, well, what'd you do this weekend? Well, I was out running the steam engine, and the other kids would be like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense to them. And the actual operating of it, I think when I get behind the throttle, I'm not just thinking, wow, this is cool, I'm running a steam engine, but also the history behind the engine comes into play too. And I feel it's a privilege to even grab the throttle on something like this. As much history and background as this engine has, the privilege of getting to run it is something that I get overwhelmed with every time I run it. The type of work to run the locomotive is a skill that has disappeared. Well, not disappeared, but has become so rare that only a select few know how to do it anymore. And it really, I see it because people my age have no idea how to do it. You've got all these old timers who are retiring and not around anymore, and that knowledge is gone. So all we have is what can get passed down, and there is a generation in there that doesn't know how to do this kind of stuff. And I'd really like to see younger people get involved with it, just to be able to continue it. Without the knowledge being passed down, they will cease to run.
Well, 110 was abandoned in 1966 at Shook's Gap, Tennessee. She was left on just a section of track big enough to hold her. I was on a family vacation with my parents and my brother and sister, and we happened by her in 1969. She was about 12 miles outside of Knoxville. So that's how we first saw her. And I was casually at that point interested in acquiring a locomotive. We'd written a couple letters to some others that we'd seen, and nothing quite panned out. So I wrote a letter and trying to find out who even owned this engine, and heard nothing back, so I figured it was a dead end. In 1972, I actually heard back from the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce saying that I should contact the trustee of the Smoky Mountain Railroad, which was J.B. Waters, a very old fellow at the time. I think he was like 84. But we made contact, talked with him, and a deal was struck, and I was able to purchase 110 from the majority stockholder of the Smoky Mountain Railroad. We finally got it in '72. We moved it by truck and by rail up to Brookville, Ohio, which was my hometown. And it took 3 years to put her back together again. Since then, she's been on the tracks. She was towed from Brookville, Ohio up to Angola, which was our first operation. And she's been on the rails ever since, except for being trucked up to Owasso for the 2 times we went up there.
The full version of this video will be available for sale on DVD or Blu-ray at the Little River Railroad's gift shop in Coldwater, Michigan. It will feature a complete history of the railroad, interviews with volunteers and shop hands, cab footage, a behind-the-scenes look at number 110, and tank engine number 1. Thanks for watching Delay and Block Productions. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great videos just like this one.